Hey guys, Dr. Sanders here from Apex Spine and Performance, and today we're going to talk about foot loading. So, what is foot loading? We can refer to foot loading as the way that we distribute our weight through our foot as we interact with the ground during lots of exercises and activities. Why is it important? Why is foot loading important? Well, we find that consistent improper foot loading has a potential to put more stress through the passive structures of our joints. So we have a higher risk of something like an overuse injury. We see this a lot with especially our weightlifters, our runners who are dealing with lower extremity complaints. We also find that working on foot loading is an excellent adjunct therapy to improving complaints further upstream. It's not usually something we start with, but we find that at some point in care, it can help us get better mechanics of the lower extremity and hopefully offload some of the irritated structures that we're dealing with. We often hear people talk about overpronation syndrome, or the collapse of that medial arch. We don't hark on that a whole lot. As long as somebody is still evenly distributing their weight through their foot, overpronation or medial arch foot drop isn't the largest concern on the plate. What we coach here at Apex Spine and Performance is what we call a tripod distribution of weight, and we'll show you that in a second. All right, so as I mentioned, some of the cases where we would work on foot loading are when we have a complaint of pain in the lower extremity. So when we have a complaint of pain in the lower extremity, we're always going to look at movement. So we will often have somebody go through something like a lunge pattern or a squat pattern and see what happens with the feet. And sometimes we see some funky stuff happen. Some of that might be the toes lifting up when we go down to squat or lunge. Sometimes we will be loading most of our weight on the outside of our foot and actually picking up that medial arch as the toes come up. And then sometimes we'll see us put most of the weight on the inside of the foot with the squat. So how do we address that? We like to use something called a tall hanging position. So that is where we find something about hip height or so. We're actually going to focus on one leg with this. We have a few options for how we set our body up with this movement. We can be down on our elbows here, we can be on a single elbow, or we can be up on our hand. The way we determine where we start with that, we're looking at what position can we maintain a relatively neutral lumbar spine in. So in what position can we keep our low back out of excessive extension or excessive flexion? From here, we're going to see if we can spread the toes out wide. If we can do that, we are going to coach people to try to find an even amount of weight at the base of their first digit, the base of their fifth digit, so the pinky toe, and then the center of their heel. That's what I mean by that tripod distribution of weight. From here, we're going to see if we can keep our knee somewhat in line with our second and third digit right out over our forefoot. So from here, there's lots of ways that we can challenge this position. We can start to rock the foot forward, or rock the knee forward rather. We can hinge back into the hip. We can also challenge this movement by adding in upper extremity movement, perhaps with resistance. All the while, we're trying to maintain those 3 points of contact. Once we are good at this and keeping that tripod distribution of weight as we move, we can start to transfer that to something a little more challenging, like that lunge or squat, as we practice keeping those 3 points of contact. With the toes, we often find when we ask people to root into the ground with the toes, they claw at the ground. What we're looking for with the toes is more of the ability to spread the toes out and to press the toes into the ground. So ideally, if someone came to lift my foot up, they would not be able to bring my toes off the ground while I'm rooting into the ground. So give this a try, guys. We hope it helps. If you have any questions on foot loading, or you think that it might be useful for improving your activity or sport, feel free to reach out to us, shoot us a message, or come hang out. Thanks, guys.